Oh, there we go. All right. We're down in Utah for a top 25 matchup between the Utah State Aggies and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So far this year, Utah State and Minnesota are both seeking their big wins, as both have not gotten many huge victories so far this season. Utah State beat a Notre Dame team that maybe could have been their marquee win, but Notre Dame appears to have been AWOL so far this year and has been sinking down. We'll see if they can continue that. All right. We're going to start here with the coin toss. Minnesota and Utah State's captains are out on the field, and Minnesota is going to call the toss. They're going to choose heads, and Utah State wins the toss, and they will elect to take the ball to start the game. Minnesota back to kick it off. Mitch Doyle kicks it off, and it is out of the back of the end zone. 1st and 10 from the 25. Leonard Powell leads his unit out there as they hope to get their first top 25 win. And Minnesota hopes to shut down Leonard Powell's passing game and take their marquee win of the year. Leonard Powell snaps the ball, drops it back, and immediately fires it down the field to Trevor George, who tiptoes out of bounds for a gain of 20. They are out to the 45. Leonard Powell hands it off to Madison Turnage, and he gets a hole up the middle for 10 yards and another Minnesota first down. Utah State first down into Minnesota territory. On the Minnesota 45, Powell drops back again. He finds Damani Reed underneath, and he gets 8. 2nd and 2. He'll drop back again, and he can't find Cameron Warford. And that leads it to 3rd and short. Leonard Powell drops back to pass. He's looking. He can't find anyone. He's going to try to take off, but the D-line gets to him in the backfield. And that'll bring up 4th and 6. Minnesota gets their stop immediately, and now Utah State has a choice to make. 4th and 6. Do they go for it or do they not? Utah State decides to send the offense out. They're trying to make a statement early. They line up. They're getting ready to snap. And they false start. R.T. Flowers on the O-line jumps, and that'll move them back 5 yards, immediately snuffing out any chances of them going for it here. 4th and 11 on opposing 46. They will punt it into the end zone for a touchback. Minnesota gets their stop. Minnesota sends out their offense. Colton Slusher is their quarterback. See what his stats of the year are like. Colton Slusher is actually their 2nd best quarterback. They've decided to start him over Justin Dawkins, their senior quarterback. Colton Slusher will hand it off to start the game to Matt Porter. He will only get 2. 2nd and 8. He will hand it off to Jason Hudson. And Jason Hutkins gets a little bit of yards, 5 yards, and they get an offsides penalty on Terrell Boyle. 2nd and 3 now. Minnesota 27. Colton Slusher will drop back to pass, and he can't find Liam Bellinger. 3rd and 3. Slusher will hand it off to James Sullivan. James Sullivan gets to the outside. He stiff arms a man. He powers forward, and he will get the first down. Adam Jenkins, the man who got stiff armed, is staying down on the field, injured. We'll have an injury update as he limps off the field later. Meanwhile, Minnesota, 10 minutes left in the first quarter. 1st and 10 on their own 33. Colton Slusher back to pass. He throws it up. It is tipped at the line, and it's caught by Zach Smith of the defense. Going the other way, he will get tackled, and that will turn it over to Utah State. Utah State now having the ball at their own 48. Utah State gets their stop. And now their offense will hit onto the field. First and 10. Utah State is slow to the line. They are taking way too much time here, and Utah State will have to take a timeout. I have no clue how you have a turnover and have to take a timeout afterwards. So Utah State now on 2 timeouts. Leonard Powell will hand it off to Mark Thornton, and he gets blown up in the backfield, and they take another timeout. Utah State is completely out of whack on offense right now. 2nd and 13. He's back to pass. And he finds Hebo Samuel for only 4 yards on a check down. And that'll bring up a 3rd and long. 3rd and 9. Leonard Powell will hand it off to Keegan Dillon, and he gets nothing. So Utah State being conservative early. 4th and 9 now. And they will punt it away. Jesse Davis punts for 45, and Jeremy Cook is cooking on the return. He jukes the first man, and then he drags the second defender and finally gets pushed out after 21 yards of a return. And they get the ball at their own 27 to start. Colton Slusher hands it off to James Sullivan. He gets stuffed in the backfield. They will drop back, find Titus Phillips underneath for only 4, and then on 3rd and 10, they will hand it off for only 3. Minnesota, quick 3 and out again. Dwayne Sheets punts it for 47, and Mark Thornton, this time he gets some room to run. He will get 20 yards on the return out to the 43. Utah State football on their own 43. Leonard Powell will hand it off to Mark Thornton. Flags will fly, and he gets stuffed at the line. But Utah State is called for too many men on the field, which gives Minnesota's called for too many men on the field, which gives Utah State 5 yards and a free down. Leonard Powell back to pass on 1st and 5. He completes for Cameron Warford 10 yards down the field. He jukes a man. He's finding some room. He's going to get 10 more yards and a first down for 26 yards. Utah State now on the 26 of Minnesota. They flip the field. Leonard Powell hands it off to Mark Thornton for 4. He drops back, and he's looking. He fires it to the corner of the end zone. Madison Turnage catches it, 22 yards, and the first touchdown of the game. Utah State makes the extra point. 7-0 to start the game. Adam Lewis here to kick off. He will kick it off short to the 9-yard line, and Jeremy Cook will only get 14. So despite the bad kick, Minnesota starts from their own 23. Colton Slusher will hand it off to Jason Hudson. He gets 4. Colton Slusher drops back to pass, but decides to take off instead. He gets a hole up the middle, and he ran for good reason. He finds 10 yards and a first down on their own 37. Colton Slusher hands off to Jason Hudson. Jason Hudson gets a big hole, but there's a reason for that hole. As a penalty flag comes out, and Cale Horn is called for holding on the offense. But on the defense, Jeremy Jones, the cornerback, found a way to get injured on that running play, and he will also be out. That is the second secondary injury for Utah State this game. 1st and 20, now on their own 27. Slusher back to pass. He fires it to DJ Reese, who gets a hand on it and is caught for 13 yards. First down. No, not first down because of the holding. It's 2nd and 7 now. Should have been a first down. Colton Slusher back to pass, and he instead decides to run again up the middle. He gets some room. He finds enough yards for a first down and slides for 11 yards. 1st and 10 again. Utah State is now a little bit shaken. Slusher hands the ball off to Tyler Davis. He only gets 3. They hand it off to James Sullivan. He will get another 3. They're playing bully ball now. 3rd and 4. Slusher will hand it off to James Sullivan. He tries to find something behind the O-line, but they do not move. There's nowhere to go, and he will get taken down for only 1 yard. To end the first quarter, your score, Utah State 7, Minnesota nothing. And Utah State now has the ball after a punt. Dwayne Sheets punts it for 35. Mark Thornton returns at 11. And Utah State starts on their 18. Leonard Powell back out there again. He drops back to pass. Flags fly, and he completes for 30 yards down the field. Cameron Wartford finding another open zone in the defense. And the penalty for illegal contact is declined. 1st and 10, out to the 48 now. Just like that, Leonard Powell back to pass. He can't find Keelan Dillon, and he just decides to throw it away. 2nd and 10, on their own 48. Leonard Powell hands it off to Mark Thornton. He will get 4. 3rd and 6, he drops back to pass again, looking for the first down. He fires it over the middle. Damani Reed, he's covered well, but makes the catch. And he turns upfield for 14 yards before he's dragged down. And first down is achieved. Minnesota 34 now. Utah State hands it off to Madison Turnage. Turnage up the middle, finds a hole, dragging defenders, and he will find another 11-yard run and another first down. Now inside the Minnesota 25 on the 23. Powell will hand it off to Turnage. Turnage again finds blockers, and 9 yards up the field will get dragged down for a 2nd and 1 now. In the red zone, Leonard Powell back to pass. He will find Keegan Dillon underneath. Keegan Dillon gets the block. Keegan Dillon will find it into the end zone, and that is going to be the 2nd touchdown for Utah State on the game. Extra point is up and good. It is now 14-0 Utah State with 11:06 left in this half. Utah State will kick it off into the end zone, and Jeremy Cook makes the awful decision to return it. He only gets to the 12. I don't know what he was cooking there, but it was not what I would have cooked. Starting from their own 12. Colton Slusher decides still he likes to hand the ball off. He gives it to Jason Hudson again. Hudson finds a hole. He gets down, and he gets down after 13 yards on the play. 1st and 10 on their own 25 now. Finally get it back to where they should have started. Colton Slusher will hand it off to James Sullivan. He gets nothing. They hand it off to James Sullivan again. He gets up the field. And the ball is punched out by Terry Boyle, and Utah State has this football on the Minnesota 32-yard line. Huge mistake by Minnesota. They are really in trouble now. Leonard Powell gets his offense back onto the field with great field position, up 14 already. Leonard Powell back to pass. He finds Keegan Dillon immediately, 10 yards down the field, and he'll get tackled for a first down. Minnesota 22 now. Leonard Powell will hand off to Mark Thornton. He gets a 3-yard gain. 2nd and 7. He's going to fire over the middle for Hebo Samuel, and he gets underneath 5 yards. 3rd and 2. Leonard Powell drops back to pass. He's looking. He can't find anyone, and he decides to throw it away. 4th and 2 on the Minnesota 14. They could go for it here and try and make the dagger happen, or they could kick and make it a 3-score lead. Ryan decides to go for the dagger. He sends his offense back out there. Leonard Powell under center. Mark Thornton behind him in the I formation. Leonard Powell snaps it. He hands it off to Mark Thornton up the middle. He gets his blockers. He's pushing himself forward, and they will get a huge push. 5-yard gain on the play and a free first down. 1st and goal on the 9 for Utah State. Leonard Powell once again hands it off to Cameron Warford. He only gets 2. He drops back to pass. He rolls to the right. He fires it to Trevor George in the end zone, and it is caught for another receiving touchdown. That is going to be the 3rd touchdown in a row for Utah State. The extra point is up and good. It is now 21-0 Utah State. Adam Lewis again kicks it off into the end zone for a touchback. Colton Slusher back out there again, trying to get anything going for Minnesota. Slusher drops back to pass. He's looking. He fires it deep. all the way down, 40 yards down the field, but it sails over James Sullivan's head for an incomplete pass. Trying to get something big going because they need it, but it does not happen. 2nd and 10, he decides to hand it off to James. James Sullivan can only get 3. On 3rd and 7, Slusher back to pass. He's looking again, firing to his running back, James Sullivan. They're not on him. Nobody's there. The defense is not covering him. He's wide open down the field. There is nobody around him. He will waltz all the way down the sideline. 72 yards, touchdown. Minnesota responds. Extra point is up and good after the 70-plus yard touchdown. It is 21-7 Utah State. 5:05 remaining in the half. Mitch Doyle kicks it off for a touchback. Leonard Powell back out again. He did not have much time on the sideline, and he has not had much time on the sideline this game. And he will immediately hand it off to Mark Thornton. Thornton has been cooking. He's up the middle. He's got 6 on the play. 2nd and 4. Powell back to pass. He's looking. He's going to dump it off behind for a screen. The screen pass is going to go nowhere, and Leonard Powell gets Cameron Ward for only a 0-yard pass. 3rd and 4. He's going to hand it off to Mark Thornton. Mark Thornton will find the edge, but is dragged down before the line to gain. No, they're going to bring the chains out here. I thought he was clearly short, but they're going to mark him, and they're going to give him the first down. That is completely insane. That was a 2.5-yard carry at most, and they gave him 4 yards for the first down. And that is going to be first down Utah State at their own 35 now. Leonard Powell hands it off to Turnage. He gets 3. Elijah Gardner is on the ground, the O-lineman for Utah State. Their 3rd injury on the day. He's going to leave the field. And they're going to take it again. 2nd and 7. Leonard Powell drops back to pass. He's rolling, looking, and again, he can't find anything. He's going to dump it off, and it is going to be incomplete to his receiver's feet. 3rd and 7. Leonard Powell, conservative, decides to hand the ball off to Madison Turnage up the middle, and he only gets 1-yard gain, and Minnesota takes their first timeout. With 2:25, Jesse Davis boots this one away on 4th and 6, and it is going to be a huge kick, 50-yard punt, booming down the field, and there's going to be a flag on the return as well, as Jeremy Cook will get immediately smacked by a defender. 0-yard return, but somehow, after a 0-yard return, the refs are going to call an illegal block in the back. How do you illegal block in the back on a 0-yard return? I don't quite understand it, but that's what was called, and Utah State will get the ball on their own 6-yard line. Minnesota drops back to a pass. He's rolling. Slusher is looking for something down the field. He's looking big. He's going to fire it again way down the field, but he way underthrows his man, and Marcus Calvin for the defense is there. He picks it off and returns it up the sideline, and he's going to be shoved out after 7. Minnesota gets their turnovers increased by 1 to 2 turnovers. Minnesota now reeling, down 14, letting Utah State on their own 22 with the ball. 2:16 left in the half. Leonard Powell on the 22, hands it off to Madison Turnage. Madison Turnage finds some room, and he's tackled after 8 yards. Minnesota, for whatever reason, will decide to take a timeout. Don't understand it. 2:13 left in the half. Their opposing team has the ball. 2nd and 2. He hands it off to Madison Turnage. Turnage gets 3 yards and a first down. The 2-minute warning happens. 1st and 10 on the 11. Powell to Madison Turnage. He gets blown up in the backfield. Only a negative 1-yard play, but still blown up in the backfield. 2nd and 11. Powell hands it off to Mark Thornton. He gets nothing on the play, nothing doing. 2-yard gain. 3rd and 9. He's going to drop back. Leonard Powell. And once again, in the red zone. He's going to find a man wide open in the red zone. Hitchum Ben Amore, 10-yard play and a touchdown for Utah State. That's going to make it 27-7. And after the extra point, 28-7. Utah State up by 21. Adam Lewis is going to kick it off, and it is going to go into the end zone for a touchback. 1st and 10. Flusher back to pass. He's going to fire it to Jason Hudson, and it is knocked away by the defender. 2nd and 10. Slusher back to pass. He's going to dump it off for a screen route, and James Sullivan cannot get anywhere. It is a 4-yard loss. 3rd and 14. They're going to be conservative here and hand it off to Jason Hudson, and he's going to do all he can, but he's not able to get the first down. He gets 10 yards out of the 14 needed. 4th and 4. Dwayne Sheets will punt 53 yards. Another great punt in this game. Mark Thornton only gets 9 on the return. And Utah State will start from their own 25 with 55 seconds remaining. Leonard Powell will hand it off to Thornton. Thornton gets 8, and they're just going to let the clock tick down to 11 seconds before snapping it again. Powell back to pass. He gets 9 yards on the completion, and they'll let it go to half. Your halftime score, 28-7 Utah State. Let's get back into this game. 28-7 at the halftime. Utah State started with the ball, so they will be kicking off. Adam Lewis will kick it off short to only the 7-yard line, and Jeremy Cook will take it off to the 27. Starting from the 27, Colton Slusher will hand it off to James Sullivan. James Sullivan gets 8 yards. 2nd and 2. Slusher hands it off to Jason Hudson. Hudson gets some room. Hudson on the sideline. He jukes a man. He gets dragged down for 10-yard gain. On the 45, their own 45. Flusher hands it off to Jason Hudson. Utah State does not fool on this, and Jason Hudson is going to be taken down in the backfield. Hayden Leeds of the O-line is injured on the play. Colton Slusher hands the ball off to James Sullivan on 2nd and 11, and James Sullivan will get the 11 yards required for a first down. On Utah State 45 now. Flusher back to pass. He looks for Matt Porter, but can't complete the pass. It falls to his feet. Matt Porter unable to bring it down. 2nd and 10. He's back to pass. No, he hands it off to James Sullivan. James Sullivan, again, finds a hole. He's rumbling down. 8-yard gain on the play. Leads to 3rd and 2. Slusher back to pass. He rolls to the right. Tries to find Jason Hudson, but it is knocked away immediately. Utah State with a good stop here. 4th and 2 now. Minnesota has a choice. They decide they will go for it. They're down 21, and they need it. Minnesota, Colton Slusher snaps the ball back to pass. He's looking. He can't find anything, but Utah State does not have a spy. Colton Slusher finds the open hole, and he is going to slide down after 11 yards and a first down. 1st and 10 on the 26 of Utah State. First drive out this half is being very successful so far. Slusher hands it off to Jason Hudson. He gets 2. He drops back to pass. Flags on the play. This will be holding on the offense. No, holding on Zach Smith of the defense. And that will be a free first down for Utah State. 1st and 10. Not Utah State. Minnesota. I'm getting all mixed up here. Minnesota. 1st and 10 on the Utah State 19. Slusher back to pass. He's going to look. He's going to find Matt Porter. And Matt Porter is going to make a move on a man and find 16 yards to the 3-yard line. 1st and goal on the 3. Minnesota hands it off to James Sullivan, and he gets in untouched. Touchdown, Minnesota. The extra point is good, and they were within 2 scores of the game. 28-14 now. We're in the 3rd quarter. Mitch Doyle kicks it off to the 8-yard line, and Mitchell Koger will return at 27 yards to the 35. Leonard Powell back out there again for the first time this half. Leonard Powell back to pass. He's going to take a shot to Demanny Reed, who finds an open hole for 23 yards and a first down. All right to the Minnesota 42. Powell handing it off. Madison Turnage is stuffed in the backfield, losing 2 yards. 2nd and 12. He hands it off to Madison Turnage. This time he will get his yards back +1 for a first down. Not a first down, for a third down, 3rd and 9. Leonard Powell back to pass. He will fire it again way down the field, and the coverage is soft back there all game long. He finds Himbo Samuel for 23 yards and a first down. In the red zone on the Minnesota 18. Utah State, Leonard Powell drops back. He can't find anything, and he throws it away. 2nd and 10. Powell back to pass again. And what do you know? Once again, the soft coverage pays them a treat, and he finds Cameron Warford 18 yards and a touchdown. Utah State, after the extra point, goes up 35-14. Up by 21 once again. Adam Lewis kicks it off into the end zone for a touchback. Minnesota is going to need another score here if they want any shot at coming back. 5:48 left in the quarter. Colton Slusher snaps the ball, and it is a QB draw. But this time he finds room again and gets 6 yards after the slide. Utah State is not there with a spy on Colton Slusher, and he's making them pay over and over. Slusher back to pass. This time they bite on the spy, and Colton Slusher can find DJ Reese on a seam down the middle, and he will get tackled by the safety after 23 yards. And they get the ball on the 46 of Utah State. Both teams having explosive offenses here in the second half. Colton Slusher back to pass again. He finds Tim Mullen, but it is knocked away by that defense. Good coverage. 2nd and 10. He hands it off to Jason Hudson, and Hudson gets 5 yards, and that'll lead it to a 3rd and 5. Slusher, 3rd and 5, hands it off to James Sullivan. Sullivan will get 3 yards, but not quite the first down. Another O-line from Minnesota, Cale Horn, is on the field, and he will limp off. Another time with a no-brainer. Down 21, 4th and 2 on your opposing 38. Minnesota. Slusher back to pass. He delayed handoff to Jason Houston. Or it's Houston. It's Houston, not Hudson. I've been saying Hudson this entire time. Jason Hudson finds a hole, and he will get 11 yards and a crucial 4th down conversion. 1:45 left in the third. Minnesota back to pass. He's looking more, and he's taking way too long. The defense will get to him. A coverage sack by Creed Beckham brings them back to the 37 on 2nd and 20. Colton Slusher will hand it off to James Sullivan, and again they go backwards. He will be stopped for 4 yards lost. 3rd and 24. Slusher will just take the underneath route, and they only get 4 to end the third quarter. 4th and 20 on the opposing 37. They don't feel confident in their field goal kicker. They will punt it for a touchback. Utah State ball. 1st and 10 on their own 20. Leonard Powell back to pass, and Leonard Powell loses the ball, but he'll pick it right back up, and he'll hand it off to Mark Thornton, and he gets 4 yards on the play. Leonard Powell, 2nd and 6. He'll hand it off to Mark Thornton again, and Mark Thornton gets stuffed on the play, but there is a penalty flag. They get called for holding on top of that. It's accepted, and it brings up 2nd and 16. Leonard Powell back to pass. He takes off himself and he finds 6 yards and slides down. 3rd and long. 13-18 left in the game. Up 21. Utah State. Leonard Powell hands it off to Madison Turnage. Madison Turnage will juke a man in the backfield. He will stiff arm a man. He will shove him to the ground, and he's keep going. He's down the sideline. He has blockers. He will go 30, 40, 52 yards before being shoved out of bounds. And that'll immediately flip the field up to the Minnesota 28-yard line. Utah State, a chance to end it here. Leonard Powell takes it himself for 3. He hands it off to Mark Thornton for 6. 3rd and 1. He drops back to pass. He takes Cameron Warford. He jukes a man. He stiff arms, but he can only find 14. Not enough for the goal line. 1st and goal from the 5. Powell back to pass. He's going to complete it underneath for Keegan Dillon. He reaches for the end zone. They're going to mark him short at the 1-yard line. On the 1 for the game delivering dagger. Utah State will hand it off to Madison Turnage, and he gets in. Utah State touchdown, which puts them out of reach. 42-14. I'm just going to go ahead and call it here. No more points get scored in this game. The final 10 minutes are completely uneventful for both teams. Final score would be 42-14 Utah State as they end this one with an easy win. Oh, I'm sorry. They missed the extra point. It's not 42-14. It's 41.